A dump truck just unloaded over 10 tons of One thing that's really hard for me to do is wait when things are unfinished. I don't like to wait. Waiting is not easy for me. When I start something, I want to finish it as soon as I possibly can. The thought of just completing something halfway and then seeing that it's undone is one of the big challenges of life that I've experienced.
No.
Okay, so what do you think?
I think it looked prettier on the picture.
So, you think it was our best purchase?
I don't think it was our best.
One thing I love and yet despise at times about my wife, despise is a strong word, is that she is more of a waiter. She will wait till she's forced to do something sometimes. Whereas with me, I can make very quick and sometimes rash decisions.
This is the only trick is tree.
Yeah, these tree roots are they're gonna make it fun. I may have wished I brought my backhoe.
My grandma was a really good painter, and so I asked her to teach me how to paint. And the first time we worked together, she was showing me how to do things but not detailed. In painting, you get the general concept and then you let it dry. But I did not want to let it just dry. I wanted to put the details, the shadows, the intricacies of the painting. But she would force me to wait and say, no, go, let it dry. And I'd have to come back another week to keep working. Ironically, that was one of my most favorite paintings that I ever did.
I think he's already been illegally recording me.
I can manipulate what you say.
Yeah, with AI. Sure you will.
Did you ever want one of these things as a child?
The camera you're holding?
The bulldozer thing in front of your face?
Always. It's a man's dream. A boy's dream too.
You know, this property that we're on, it feels just like that. It feels like a big painting that I want to just get finished right away. But the Lord is in the place of my grandma saying, wait, Scooby. Let it be unfinished. Just do this part. Wait for the other part to come. You know, I think about Abraham and Sarah, how God promised to them they would have a son. They knew they were in the right place. And yet, where is the son? Where is the promise? And because it felt so uncomfortable, Sarah told Abraham to sleep with her own Egyptian servant. And Abraham agreed and did it. And they had a son. But that son was not the promise. And that son caused a lot of grief for the whole family. Abraham and Sarah did not wait on the Lord. We try to force the painting to come into completion rather than waiting for the paint to dry. We try to force what we want to come about. And I think about my own life, times where I spoke too soon, times where I felt like I needed to do something and it backfired. Times of talking with my wife and being too quick to say certain things. And by doing so, it will cause a chain reaction, a fight between us. It will cause harm and discomfort and grief. Only because I took things into my own hands and didn't wait for the Lord. I remember I worked for a security company, and I just remember thinking, Lord, I don't want to just spend my days working for a security company. There's more for me to do in this life, God. And I would feel the Lord just tell me, just wait. The time is coming. I wanted to take things into my own hands, but I knew I had to wait. But then the time came and I left that company and I started GodSounds. And then again, there was the process of waiting in that which was uncomfortable. When no money was coming in, so I had to do Uber to make enough to keep going. It's so uncomfortable to wait. But the Lord spoke to me, and the Lord spoke again and again and again. But here's the wild thing too. As I'm making money and building my business, I want to keep going farther. I want to keep painting that painting. I want to make it a masterpiece. But then the Lord would have me stop. Don't work many hours. Don't keep going. But Lord, I've waited and I've waited to build this business. Why can't I keep going with it? Why do you want me to stop? You know, thinking about it, it must have felt very similar with Abraham. They finally get their son Isaac. after years of waiting, and now the promise is being fulfilled. But then God tells Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. Why would I sacrifice the promise you've given me, Lord? Why would I cut back on my hours and build this company that you promised to me? Because there's something more important than the promise. What's more important than the promise is our obedience to God. Our heart for Him is more than the painting itself. And God has been teaching me this for the past 10 years. He'd rather us feel uncomfortable in the unfinished painting than to have the finished masterpiece and yet lose our heart for Him. God would rather me set alarm systems and be close to Him than to have my own Christian company and be far from Him. It's such a challenge to remember that. To have it in your heart to simply look at the Lord throughout the day, rather than just say your prayers and walk out the door and do your thing. Because God may have something else for you to do. And that's what I've learned in my own life. I can't just assume I know what to do, because the Lord may have another plan. I feel for Abraham and Sarah, because that may have been exactly what we have done if we were in their place. To rush the process and not trust God. Because sometimes it's like, could that really be the Lord? Am I just going crazy and hearing voices in my head? And it takes such faith to believe what you're hearing is from God. That's why it's so important to know for sure if it's the Lord or not. To develop that relationship with God where you know it's Him. You know the voice of the enemy and you know the voice of your Father. Because His voice is what matters. His voice is what counts. And sometimes it's hard to hear His voice, but other times you know for sure it's Him, and you gotta go with that. I don't like to wait. Waiting is not fun. But the perfect will of God is worth the wait. It's worth the wait. Hello?